Hey everybody, Tyler Engelbert's here coming at you with another video for Viking Media. So I'd like to start by apologizing that I haven't had steady content coming out. We're going to change that. I'm going to get back to doing hopefully a daily video, and we'll go from there. There'll be lots of content coming in the way of political discussions. Basically just monologues of me giving you guys my opinion on what's happening in the Canadian political scene, and we're going to see a lot of information coming from me in regards to the PPC and what I think's going on there, and how the party is growing and everything like that. So um, I've been pretty busy lately with work, and that's kind of winding down for the winter here a little bit, and I've been pretty busy with PPC stuff, so I'm going to be going full steam at that, and I'll keep you guys updated via this channel. Mr. Bernier has been on tour doing rallies, and I got the pleasure of seeing him speak at a rally in Calgary, and I got the pleasure of seeing him speak at a Rebel Media Conference in Calgary the day after that. That was last weekend. And it was just truly inspiring to see the response from people and the support that he's gaining as he goes across this great country of ours. The enthusiasm is absolutely amazing, and just it's inspirational seeing him reaffirm his platform points, and seeing people respond in such a positive way to what he's trying to bring to politics in Canada. So anyways, I got just a little couple videos from my channel pulled up here. If you guys want to check those out, that'd be great. If you guys like what I'm doing and you like the support that I'm giving to the party with my dedication and everything like that, feel free to reward me with a like and a subscription. I'd like to get this video to 50 likes or so, and yeah, it would just be really great to bump up that number of subscribers and really help this party get off the ground, and well, I'd say it's off the ground now, but to take it to the level where we can win an election. So I'm just going to get rid of that, and we'll talk a little bit. I touched on Mr. Bernier doing these rallies here or across the country. There's one coming up in Saskatoon. That's the area that I'm in. So if anybody's in that area, the event will be November 29th, 6:30 p.m. at the Ramada in Saskatoon. If you can make it and show the party the support that you're capable of giving, that would be great. It's awesome hearing Maxime Bernier speak, and to show a strong presence in Saskatoon would be very beneficial. So let's get that as big as it can be. So yeah, anyways, the purpose of this video is to watch Andrew Scheer in the House of Commons. They're on a constituency work week, so nobody's actually in the House of Commons. So Andrew Scheer is taking this opportunity to do a little Q&A sitting in the House of Commons. I'm going to discuss what I think he's doing right, what I think he's doing wrong in direct relation to these questions that he's asked, and yeah, I'll apologize. You might see some notifications pop up. I can't really do anything about that as the video is on Facebook, so you just have to bear with me there. But yeah, we'll get right into it. This is Andrew Scheer.
Well, hi everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. I am in the House of Commons in the Parliament of Canada. The House isn't sitting right now. The MPs are back in their constituencies doing constituency work.
So there he brings up that the MPs are in their constituencies, constituency work week. I realize that Andrew Scheer is the leader of the Conservative Party, so his constituency might be a little bit on the back burner, and I think that kind of goes along with him. Just kind of forgetting about the West. I mean, he doesn't go home that often, and I, like I said, I know he's running a party, but there's one thing about this video that I really want to emphasize, and that's that he doesn't talk about equalization at all in this video. And being that it's constituency work week and he should be working for his constituency, I know equalization is a big deal where I'm from. He's Andrew Scheer is the MP for a riding very close to me. I know a lot of people in that riding personally, and I know a lot of people that have voted for him and that are feeling quite disgruntled about it in the fact that they don't feel represented in Ottawa as they should be, and especially so being that he's the leader of the party. You'd think that he'd be representing his constituents. Yeah, so that's in relation to the constituency work week thing. I just wanted to say that.
I am in the building today going over some policy issues and some preparations for next week. But I thought, just because the House isn't sitting doesn't mean we can't have a question period. On peut avoir une période de questions, although it won't be the opposition asking the government questions. But if you have questions for me, if you'd like to get my take on some issues that are going on or some policy questions you might have, please feel free. Post them in the comment section, and I'll be.
I just want to stop this video. Pay attention to the comment section. You'll see the UN questions, Compact for Migration questions, and all that go by a lot. Like it's definitely the reoccurring theme of the comment section, and it takes him a long time to field that, and he barely fields it. And anyways, just keep an eye on that.
Happy to answer them. So I can see quite a few people are joining already. We've got some people saying hi Mark. I see some familiar friends and faces going by. Lots to talk about the last couple of weeks. Il y a beaucoup des enjeux que nous avons soulevés dans la Chambre des communes. I still hear a lot of people bring up the Stats Canada issue. So for those of you who may not have been following this story, the government announced that Stats Canada would be accessing your private data.
So the first thing Scheer talks about is this whole StatsCan privacy breach thing, and it's kind of been put on the back burner. I'll give Andrew Scheer the credit that he deserves in that his opposition did bring it up adamantly in the House of Commons during question period, and they really drilled down on Justin Trudeau about that. But I think it was more of a Canada-wide effort. I know I was fervently emailing my MP, and I know a lot of other people that were, and it was just a total backlash on that, as it should be. The Trudeau government shouldn't have access to that. No government should have access to that information. It's a huge confidentiality privacy breach. So I think Andrew Scheer is kind of just capitalizing on this. He is, like I said, he deserves a bit of credit for this, but for him to kind of take it and run with it and just keep reiterating it after it's been put on the back burner, I think there's more important things that he can be talking about. I just kind of see this as him trying to reiterate and take some credit for it. So
your financial records, really, line by line transactions linked to a social insurance number. We have been fighting against this. This is something that offends Canadians' sense of decency, that violates personal privacy rights, and we have been fighting against it. So someone just said we need some more volume. I'll try to speak up a little bit more. So lots of questions coming in now. I was just talking about Stats Canada. We are going to keep the fight up on this next week. Justin Trudeau continues to defend the indefensible, believing that the government has some kind of right to peer into your private lives and have that much level of detail of your financial transactions. Conservatives reject that. We will continue to fight against this. So I just saw a question go by on Bill C-71. Will you repeal C-71? Yes, absolutely. I will. I have made the announcement that Conservatives will repeal and replace Bill C-71. In the next few days, I'll be announcing my strategy, the Conservative approach to dealing with gun crime. And it will be based on the principle that criminals should be targeted, not law-abiding firearms owners. This is the problem every time Liberals tackle these problems. They always go after the people that are already following the law. They don't do anything to focus on people who are a danger to their community.
So right there, the first thing that he said is the Conservative government, a Conservative government would repeal Bill C-71, and that they would replace it. And this kind of goes along the theme of the Conservatives. They say X is bad, we'll replace it with Y. You guys want to see Y? Too bad, we're not going to show you that yet. So I mean, it's just so typical of the Conservatives to pick on Justin Trudeau, and he deserves to be picked on, don't get me wrong, but they use that as their key focal point. It's Trudeau is bad, we will do better. And it's just like, show us how you're going to do better. We need quantifiable policy suggestions, not just they're bad, we'll do better. It needs to be more than that, because if they just say we will do better, then they kind of give up the accountability process. They don't have anything for voters to hold them accountable to. If we elect Andrew Scheer and a Conservative government just on the fact that they'll do better, that's not enough, because better is a matter of opinion. Better is just saying better. It's hard to measure that. So I kind of see the Scheer Conservatives saying it a lot and just to reiterate, I think it's their way of not being held accountable. They just say we'll do better, and there's different opinions on what's better and what's worse. They need to show us what they're gonna do and make us some promises that go along with attracting our votes, and then that way that we can see if they're doing a good job, if they're keeping up with their promises and what. But I'm hearing a lot of words from Andrew Scheer on this and not a whole lot of substance. And whenever the Conservatives say this is bad, we will replace it with something better, it makes me very nervous.
We're going to focus on that and not spend more resources and time going after people who are already following the law.
Just another point, he fails to mention anything about people being able to defend their property and their families. I think that's a really big issue, especially being that it is constituency work week, and Andrew Scheer should have his own ridings in the back of his mind. And I know in Saskatchewan there is a lot of media coverage on cases like Gerald Stanley Colton Boucher case and a couple others that have taken place in Alberta and BC, where people have tried to defend, or they have successfully defended, their property and their families, and they get dragged through the dirt. So what I would like to see from Andrew Scheer is a promise that he's going to do something in relation to firearms regulations that will guarantee people that they can defend their families and their property. And again, I'll touch Constituency Work Week, Saskatchewan. We're very rural out here, and I know RCMP response times can be in a matter of hours, not a matter of minutes. And basically, how the Canadian law is right now, a criminal can come onto our property and pillage and steal and threaten, or worse than threaten, to actually take action. And people just want to be able to defend their property and their families, and I think that's a right that is not given us by government. I think that's a right it's just a human right to be able to defend yourself, and I think the way the Canadian laws are set up, it's very detrimental to that, and we need to hear Andrew Scheer take a stance on that. I know at the Rebel Media Conference in Calgary, this got brought up. Somebody directly asked Maxime Bernier if he would do anything for the rights of people to defend their property and their families, and he said, yes, I'll make sure to make that a priority, and we will definitely be making some changes so that people have the right to defend their property. Again, it's kind of Andrew Scheer being Andrew Scheer and not really mentioning things that are important, not taking a stance on things that are important, and it's not good, and it's a lot of the reasons why I won't support him. I need quantifiable policy that is going to help me out as a person in the West, and Andrew Scheer seems to have forgotten about us in every other aspect except for getting pipelines built.
So I've got more questions here. How will you secure borders was one that just went through. Well, we've been doing a lot of work on this. My shadow minister, Michelle Rempel, has outlined a number of options. We've proposed some ideas.
So he mentions Michelle Rempel has outlined options, and she hasn't, from what I've seen. I'll put a link in the description to a video that she has done, and it leaves a lot lacking. She says a lot. Again, she does the typical conservative thing where she criticizes Justin Trudeau, and good for her for doing that. He deserves criticism. She criticizes heavily how he's tackling this immigration border crossing issue, but she doesn't do a whole bunch to suggest what the Conservative Party should do differently. She suggests some ideas on how they could steer it in the right direction, but she fails to give any quantifiable policy. She fails to actually give any real policy. She gives her opinions and kind of the general Conservative Party's opinion, but we need promises, and there's no platform from the CPC. There's it's just, I don't understand how they think that they can win an election without defining all these things that they say they're going to do. And the worst part is they say that they're defined, and they're so far from it. We need policy. We need actual policy. We need actual we just need answers to these questions, and not vague answers, and not just ideas. We need policy. So I think the Conservatives leave a lot lacking in the immigration front, and it's just more criticizing Trudeau without solutions.
To the Liberals, the things that they could do to stop the flow of illegal border crossers. They have refused to do anything. They literally have not done anything for over 2 years now. Tens of thousands of people have come into Canada illegally, and the department's own reports are showing that this is diverting resources away from people who are following the rules. Canada wants people to come to our country to work, to contribute, to help build our society. All we ask.
So there, I will give him a bit of credit there, because he does, like, I know the Conservatives' policy on the third safe country loophole is that they should close it, which is awesome. They're not really offering anything that anybody else isn't offering. I mean, the PPC goes much further than that in saying that they need to close the third safe loophole, and they have actual numbers on immigration, and actually an actual objective of immigration, and that's to bring in immigrants that are of economic benefit to Canada, and that they shouldn't aim to change the social fabric or the culture of Canada, which are words that you hear Michelle Rempel touch on the social fabric thing in the video that I'm linking, but it's not enough, and it's very, I know it's a typical cliche word nowadays, but it's very milquetoast, and it leaves a lot lacking.
Ask is that people follow the rules. That way we don't have people who are facing real persecution, people who would be killed if they left a refugee camp, have to wait longer because some people are crossing over the border illegally. So we will continue fighting for that as well. The Premier ministre de Québec a dit que c'est pas une situation qui peut continuer parce qu'il y a beaucoup de pression sur les réseaux sociaux pour les provinces. The Premier of Ontario said the same thing, that
right here's the big one that I want to bring up. Will you opt out of the Paris Climate Agreement? This is huge. This is a huge thing for Canadians, and I'd just like to point out that Andrew Scheer not only voted for the Paris Climate Agreement, but he also whipped the vote as one of his first acts as party leader, and he basically forced all his MPs to vote for the Paris Agreement, and the Paris Agreement is basically responsible for bringing us Justin Trudeau's carbon tax, and I can't stress that enough. When I hear Andrew Scheer speak, everything that he says is overshadowed by the fact that he voted yes on the Paris Climate Agreement and whipped the vote, and I think people are failing to hold the Conservative Party responsible for that, and they're sitting here beating the drum that they'll cancel the carbon tax, and it's their own doing that brought it to us, and it's already having big impacts on Canadians' economy, and just the fact that the Paris Climate Agreement is hanging over Canadians' heads right now is influencing Canadian business and everything in a hugely negative way, and that's something that people need to hold Andrew Scheer and the CPC accountable for, and they're getting off scot-free just because they're beating the no carbon tax drum, and I don't like it. The people need to hold them accountable for this.
These illegal border crossings have a huge impact on social services for Canadians.
This is another fight. Why are you smiling? My country is being invaded. Our energy initiatives wiped out. Foreign investors fleeing. Trudeau is going to sign the UN Migrant Compact. Well, he's talking about the Migrant Pact. He's talking about the Compact for Migration, thereby giving away our sovereignty, yet you smile. And I've always noticed this about Andrew Scheer. He's always smiling. And, I mean, without being too harsh on him, he kind of looks like he doesn't give a shit about Canada and about what's going on. I mean, what's happening in politics makes me angry, and some people have said when I do these videos I come off as sounding angry, and I am angry at the political situation in Canada, and I'm angry at this man, and I'm angry at Trudeau, and I'm angry at everybody basically, except Maxime Bernier, who's trying to change his stuff. So I just thought that was worth bringing up.
So those are things that the Conservative Party will continue to fight for over the next little bit. Just looking at some more questions here. How will you get quality candidates in Liberal strongholds? Well, I can tell you that is well underway. We've got great members of Parliament. We have great people coming forward to run for our party, and I'm very excited to make some announcements in the next few weeks of some people who are announcing that they'll be running for the Conservative Party. We've got great candidates lined up in Atlantic Canada, in Quebec, in
He mentions Quebec there, and I hope that he has some absolutely stellar candidates for Quebec, because the CPC is doing absolutely dismally in Quebec. It's actually embarrassing, and this kind of brings up the point that just how bad they're doing. I mean, I could see them getting as few as 4 or 5 seats in the federal election in Quebec, and I think that they're not doing well in Quebec. They're not doing real well in Ontario. You see, Doug Ford had a pretty commanding victory in as the provincial government in Ontario. But what I've noticed in Canada is the way people vote provincially doesn't always turn into how they vote federally. So I think for him to see the provincial conservative swing and expect that to translate into a federal election is kind of naive of him. So I don't see him doing super well in Ontario or Quebec. Atlantic Canada's I mean the Conservatives. I don't see them getting a bunch of seats there. I see them kind of sweeping the West like they did with the Harper election. But Harper did a really good job of proving that you can't win an election with just the West. And I see Andrew Scheer as kind of a Harper 2.0, and I don't see the Conservative Party changing in positive ways. I see them pandering to every special interest group, and I mean, it's just patronizing to people and it's insulting. And I see that translating into a drop in their numbers. They're polling terribly. Justin Trudeau is way out ahead. I saw some data today that is suggesting Trudeau could be over 40%, and the Conservative Party is going to be in the low 30s. And I mean, there's a year before election, and it seems that the CPC keeps losing numbers as their membership sheds by the thousands, and the PPC's picking up the steam that they're losing, along with finding a bunch of other voters. So I think there's going to be a huge shift in this conservative movement, and I think we're going to see at some point in these polls, we're going to see the PPC surpass the Conservative Party, and I think that's when the shift will really hit home for the CPC, because if they don't have that, the biggest thing that the CPC has going for them right now is that they're the best. I'm doing air quotes right now, the best chance at defeating Trudeau, and I don't see them as that, but that's kind of the general consensus right now, I've realized. And when the PPC keeps gaining steam and the CPC keeps losing it, and the PPC passes the CPC in the polls, we're going to see total abandonment of the Conservative Party, I think. So it's going to be an interesting election, and I just really hope that Trudeau doesn't continue gaining steam. He needs to shed some more that also gets picked up by the PPC if we want a chance at winning an election.
Places all throughout Ontario that are going to help us make real inroads in the next election. What do you plan on doing with legal firearms owners? Well, as I said, our plan is going to focus on illegal firearms, those that smuggle weapons into the country, those that traffic in illegal weapons, those that use firearms in committing other crimes. Those are people who aren't worried about getting
Can we work on leaving the UN again? And just in relation to that, I want to show you this tweet. If you're a Bernier supporter, you've probably already seen it, but this is a direct tweet from the man himself, and he said, "The UN is a useless joke. Justin Trudeau keeps wasting Canadian taxpayer money abroad trying to get his seat at the UN Security Council. Instead, we should reassert our sovereignty and stop pretending that this corrupt international bureaucracy has any credibility." And this was also shared with a list of members of the UN Human Rights Council, and I mean, it's a joke. I mean, these are all the biggest human rights offenders in the world, like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, China. Like are these the countries that we want to model human rights after? Like, it's ridiculous. And now there's these other countries, Somalia, Bangladesh, Cameroon. It's just exhausting. Anyways, back to what Andrew Scheers is saying.
An authorization to transport. They're not worried about whether or not their PAL is expired. They're already breaking many laws. They're not going to follow new laws that the government puts in. But my plan, our anti-gang strategy and anti-illegal firearms strategy, will actually do that. Will make our community safe. So that's...
Yeah, and I'll give him the credit where it's due. Gangs are a problem that needs to be tackled. I've looked into his policy, from what I see, isn't even really a total policy. It's just a couple little infographics that I've seen on basically how criminals will be treated if they're found with a gang affiliation, and it just harshens the penalties for somebody committing a crime when they can be directly affiliated to a gang, which I think is a good idea. But it's a little bit strange in the way that I saw from the infographics. It was indicating that they wouldn't be eligible for bail, and basically, I strongly believe that everybody should be treated equally under the law, and this what Andrew Scheer is suggesting is treating people differently under the law based on whether they're affiliated with a gang or not. And I think that should influence the judge's decision, but I don't think that should be legislated with mandates. I mean, that's basically the purpose of a judge, and you're kind of trying to override that. It's part of the whole evidence thing. If it's kind of always been that if a criminal can be proved that they're linked with a gang, that the judge would weigh that with the evidence and hand down a punishment accordingly. And now Andrew Scheer is kind of saying if there's a suspicion that somebody is affiliated with a gang, whether that be whether that be proven or not, that they will lose things like eligibility for bail, and detainment will be treated differently. And it's a little bit ridiculous, and I also don't see it as the answer to our gun crime. So if you want my honest opinion, the answer to our gun crime would be an open carry, but I won't get too much into that. I'll let Andrew Scheer speak some more.
That's again, we're going to make some announcements next week, so stay tuned. Restez à l'écoute pour ça.
And again, he says we'll make some announcements next week. He obviously knows what he's going to announce next week, and Canadians are left wanting more. It's like he's just kind of giving us a scrap here and there to try to keep people interested in the Conservative Party, while there's so much other stuff happening in Canadian politics that is so much more attractive. And it feels like he's being dishonest with us, and it feels like the whole Conservative Party is being dishonest with us. And on that note, I'm going to cut this video. There will be a part 2 and possibly a part 3 because we've only made it through a short amount of this video. So, again, I'd love it if you guys could give me a like and a subscribe. Again, trying to get this video to 50 likes. So from me and Viking Media, thanks for tuning in. And I'll try to post these videos kind of back to back. I'll try to get them all edited and posted so that you can kind of watch them in series. If not, there won't be more than a day between them. So I will end this video with: freedom is fought and died for, and if you're not willing to step up and fight for your freedom with a vote, don't expect anybody else to.